This is you. You just moved $400 million across 17 countries in under 6 hours. The money smells like blood, cocaine, and human trafficking. But by the time it hits the final account, it's cleaner than a nun's conscience. Your client is a warlord who funded 3 genocides. Your fee? 2%. That's $8 million for a day's work. Not bad for a guy who flunked out of community college. You weren't born into this. You were born into a lower middle-class family in suburban America, where the biggest crime was your dad cheating on his taxes by $300. Your parents had dreams for you: college, a stable job, maybe a white picket fence and 2.5 kids. But dreams cost money, and money was the one thing your family never had enough of. You were always the smart kid. Not street smart, book smart. While other kids were outside playing, you were inside teaching yourself to code. By 14, you'd built your first algorithm. By 16, you were exploiting loopholes in online gaming economies, turning virtual gold into real cash. Nothing illegal, just creative. You learned a fundamental truth early. Money is just information, and information can be rewritten. College was supposed to be your golden ticket. You got into a decent state school on a partial scholarship. You picked finance, not because you loved it, but because that's where the money was. You busted your ass, graduated with honors, and sent out 200 applications to Wall Street firms. You got 5 interviews, 0 offers. Apparently, prestigious firms only hire from Ivy League schools, or kids whose dads play golf with the CEO. Desperate and drowning in student debt, you took the only job you could find: junior analyst at a mid-tier bank processing wire transfers. The pay was garbage. The work was mind-numbing. But you noticed something interesting. Every day, millions of dollars flowed through the system, and nobody was actually watching. The compliance department was just checking boxes, running automated scripts that a halfway competent coder could fool in their sleep. One day, you're processing a transfer for a consulting firm in Delaware. The paperwork looks clean, but your pattern recognition kicks in. The money is bouncing through shell companies in 3 different tax havens before landing in a Swiss account. It's a textbook laundering operation, and it's happening right under your bank's nose. You don't report it, you just take notes. You start studying these transactions like a PhD thesis. You map the routes, decode the corporate structures, and reverse engineer the techniques. You realize something profound. The global financial system isn't designed to stop money laundering. It's designed to make it look difficult while actually making it easy for people who know the code. The regulations are security theater, window dressing for the peasants. You spend 2 years perfecting your craft in silence, learning every loophole, every backdoor, every regulatory blind spot. Then one night, at a hotel bar during a banking conference, you meet him. A man in an expensive suit who introduces himself as a private wealth consultant. You're 3 whiskeys deep, and your ego is running the show. You start flexing your knowledge, explaining how badly designed the anti-laundering systems are. He listens with a slight smile, then slides you a business card. It's blank except for an encrypted email address. He leans in and whispers, "Kid, you're wasting your talent pushing papers for peanuts. People pay serious money for expertise like yours. Think about it." He leaves you with the check and a question that'll haunt you for weeks. How much is your integrity actually worth? You tell yourself you won't email him. You tell yourself you're not that guy. But then the student loan payment hits. Then your car breaks down. Then your landlord raises the rent. The walls close in. One night, alone in your studio apartment eating ramen for the 4th day straight, you open your laptop. You type out a message to that encrypted address. "I'm interested. What's the job?" The response comes in under a minute. A video call link. You click it. The man from the bar appears on screen, but this time he's not playing friendly. He's all business. He tells you he represents clients who need to move large amounts of capital discreetly. He needs someone who understands the technical side. Someone smart enough to navigate the system, but unknown enough to stay off radar. He's offering you a test run. Move $2 million from point A to point B without triggering any flags. Your fee for this trial, $50,000. That number hits you like a freight train. That's more than your annual salary for one job. Your hands are shaking as you agree. He sends you the account details. You have 72 hours. You hang up and stare at the screen, realizing you just crossed a line you can never uncross. But 50 grand would solve every problem in your life. So you get to work. You don't sleep for 3 days. You build a custom algorithm that fragments the money into thousands of microtransactions, routes them through cryptocurrency exchanges, offshore accounts, and shell companies you create on the fly using AI-generated business documents. The money ping-pongs across the globe. Singapore, Luxembourg, Cayman Islands, back to Delaware. Each hop is perfectly legal when viewed in isolation. It's only the pattern that's criminal, and patterns are invisible to human auditors. 71 hours in, the money hits the final account. Clean, untraceable, you send confirmation. 6 hours later, your personal account shows a deposit of $50,000 listed as consulting services. You did it! You're a criminal now. And the sick part, you feel amazing. For the first time in your life, someone values what you can do. You're not just smart, you're useful. And useful pays. The phone rings. It's him. Congratulations. You just earned yourself a permanent position. He explains the arrangement. You'll work as an independent contractor. Clients will come through him. You'll never meet them. You'll never know their names. You'll just receive wallet addresses and instructions. Your cut is 2% of every transaction. He warns you there's only one rule. Once you're in, you don't walk away. People who try to quit become liabilities, and liabilities get liquidated. You agree. You quit your banking job the next day, telling your boss you got a remote position at a fintech startup. It's not entirely a lie. Over the next 6 months, you process 20 transactions. Small stuff at first, 5 million, 10 million. Your techniques get sharper. You start using trade-based laundering, moving money through fake invoices for industrial equipment. You exploit the art market, buying paintings at auction with dirty money and selling them clean. You even run money through online gaming platforms and NFT marketplaces. Your income explodes. In 1 year, you make more than your parents made in their entire lives combined. You move into a luxury apartment. You buy a Porsche. When your college friends ask what you do, you feed them the same line. Cryptocurrency consulting. They're jealous. They think you're a genius who got in early on Bitcoin. If they only knew the truth, they'd run screaming. But success breeds arrogance. You start taking bigger jobs. 50 million, 100 million. You're moving money for drug cartels, human traffickers, corrupt politicians, oligarchs, arms dealers. You don't ask questions. You just code. You tell yourself you're neutral. You're just the plumber. If the pipes are carrying shit, that's not your problem. You're just making sure the shit flows smoothly. One night, you're out at an exclusive club, celebrating a particularly big score. You're drunk on overpriced champagne and ego when you meet her. She's beautiful, smart, works in nonprofit humanitarian aid. You're immediately smitten. You start dating. For the first time in years, you feel something other than the cold thrill of outsmarting the system. You feel human. She makes you want to be better. You hide your real job from her, obviously. You stick to the crypto consultant story. But she's sharp. She notices things. Like how you never talk about your work in detail. How you sometimes get encrypted calls at 3 a.m. and disappear into your office. How you pay for everything in cash. One night, she jokingly asks if you're a drug dealer. You laugh it off, but inside, you're panicking. You realize you can't build a real life on a foundation of lies. You decide to walk away. You've made enough money. You've got 40 million stashed in accounts across the world. You can retire at 30, marry this girl, and live clean. You send an encrypted message to your handler. I'm out. This is my last job. I appreciate the opportunity, but I'm done. You hit send and feel a weight lift off your shoulders. Freedom is one email away. The response comes instantly. We need to talk. In person. Tomorrow, 8 p.m. You know where. Your stomach drops. The rule echoes in your head. People who walk away become liabilities. But you're smarter than them. You've been planning this. You've got dead man switches. Encrypted files that automatically release to law enforcement if you don't check in every 72 hours. It's your insurance policy. You show up to the meeting armed with leverage. The location is a private room in an upscale restaurant. You walk in expecting your handler. Instead, you find someone new. An older man, silver hair, wearing a suit that costs more than your Porsche. He introduces himself simply as Mr. Kensington. He orders you a drink and gets straight to business. He knows about your dead man switch. He knows about your girlfriend. He knows about your parents' address. He knows everything. He explains very calmly that you've been laundering money for some very serious people. Russian oligarchs, Chinese Communist Party officials, Saudi royals, African dictators. These aren't street-level criminals. These are people who own judges, senators, entire police departments. Your little dead man switch? Cute. But if you release those files, you won't be a hero. You'll be a corpse, and so will everyone you love. He slides a folder across the table. Inside are photos. Your girlfriend getting coffee. Your mom at the grocery store. Your little sister walking to her car. The message is crystal clear. You're not in control. You never were. He gives you two options. Option 1, keep working. Your rate goes up to 3% and you get assigned to the premium clients. Option 2, refuse and watch everyone you love die slowly while you're forced to watch before they finally put you out of your misery. You choose option 1. You're a coward and you know it. But you're a breathing coward, and that's something. Mr. Kensington smiles and welcomes you to the real game. He explains that the jobs you've been doing were minor league. Now you're going to the majors. These clients move billions, not millions. The stakes are higher, but so is the scrutiny. One mistake and entire governments will be hunting you. Your first major job comes in. Launder $1.2 billion for a Central Asian dictator who just looted his country's pension fund. The money needs to be moved in 72 hours before the UN investigators close in. This isn't a coding problem anymore. This is geopolitical chess. You can't just use shell companies and crypto. You need to move money through legitimate institutions without raising red flags. You get to work, you use a technique called trade-based laundering on a massive scale. You create fake invoices for industrial equipment, mining machinery, oil rigs, construction cranes. The dictator's companies buy this equipment from shell companies you control at inflated prices. The equipment never ships. It doesn't exist. But the invoices are perfect, complete with bills of lading, customs documents, and insurance certificates. The money flows through commodity traders in Switzerland, holding companies in Singapore, and finally lands in real estate developments in London and New York. The entire operation is invisible. To any auditor, it looks like legitimate international trade. The $1.2 billion gets split into luxury condos, shopping centers, and hedge fund investments. It's no longer dirty money. It's real estate equity and dividend-paying stocks. You finish the job in 68 hours. Your cut? $36 million. You've just become wealthier than 99.9% of humanity. And you feel absolutely nothing. The jobs keep coming. You launder money for a Mexican cartel by running it through used car dealerships and casino junkets. You clean money for a corrupt Indonesian minister through palm oil plantations and shell NGOs. You move cryptocurrency ransomware payments through DeFi protocols and mixing services. You become a ghost in the machine. The man who makes dirty money vanish and reappear clean on the other side of the world. Your girlfriend notices you're different, distant, cold. You're drinking more, sleeping less. One night, she finds you at 4 a.m., staring at your laptop with dead eyes. She asks what's wrong. You want to tell her everything. You want to confess that you're a monster who enables dictators and drug lords. But instead, you say you're stressed about work. She suggests therapy. You laugh. What are you going to tell a therapist? Doc, I'm feeling guilty about facilitating genocide. The relationship falls apart 6 months later. She tells you she can't be with someone who's emotionally unavailable. She has no idea that emotional availability is a luxury you lost the day you decided your integrity had a price tag. You watch her leave and feel nothing. You've been laundering money for so long that you've also laundered your own conscience. All the human parts of you have been processed, cleaned, and deposited in an offshore account you can never access. One day, you get a job that makes your blood run cold. The client is a human trafficking network operating in Southeast Asia. They need to move $300 million generated from the sale of children. You stare at the instructions for an hour. This is the line, you think. This is where you say no. But then you remember Mr. Kensington's photos. You remember the rule. You remember that you're not a person anymore. You're just a function in the system. You do the job. You move the money. $300 million earned from selling kids into slavery, and you make it clean. Your cut is $9 million. You donate $1 million to a children's charity, as if that somehow balances the scales. It doesn't. You know it doesn't. But it helps you sleep at night, which has become harder and harder. The feds are closing in, though you don't know it yet. The FBI, Interpol, and Europol, have formed a joint task force specifically targeting high-level money launderers. They've been tracking financial patterns, and your work is too good to be random. They know someone with serious skills is moving billions for the world's worst people. They just don't know who yet. You get sloppy, it's inevitable. You've processed over 400 jobs in 5 years. The law of averages says you'll eventually make a mistake. It happens on a job for a Russian oligarch. You route money through a bank in Estonia that you've used before. What you don't know is that the bank is now cooperating with investigators. They've installed monitoring software on their servers. Your transactions get flagged. Your patterns get analyzed. Suddenly, the net starts tightening. Mr. Kensington calls. His voice is ice. We have a problem. The Estonia route is compromised. They have transaction records going back 18 months. Your digital fingerprints are all over them. Your heart stops. You ask what happens now. He tells you the organization has a protocol for this situation. They're going to stage your death. Car accident. Closed casket. You'll get a new identity, new face, new life in Southeast Asia, where you'll continue working under deeper cover. You refuse. You're done running. You're done hiding. You tell him you're turning yourself in, cutting a deal, and cooperating with the feds. There's a long silence. Then he laughs. You still don't get it, do you? You can't cooperate. You've laundered money for 15 different intelligence agencies. The CIA, MI6, Mossad. They all use our services to move dark money for black ops. If you talk, you won't be killed by criminals. You'll be killed by your own government. You hang up. Your hands are shaking. You realize you're not just trapped in a criminal conspiracy. You're trapped in a geopolitical nightmare. The money you've been moving doesn't just fund cartels and dictators. It funds covert wars, regime changes, and off-the-books operations that would make WikiLeaks look like a children's book. You're not just a criminal. You're a threat to national security. You have 72 hours before they come for you. You know how this works. They'll make it look like suicide or an overdose. You'll be found in your apartment with a needle in your arm and a note typed on your computer. Case closed. So you make a decision. If you're going down, you're taking everyone with you. You spend the next 3 days compiling everything. Every transaction, every client, every shell company, every corrupt banker, politician, and agent who facilitated the system. You encrypt the files and upload them to a dead man switch with a difference. This one can't be stopped. It's distributed across blockchain nodes, set to auto-release in 7 days if you don't enter a code. You write one final message. To whom it may concern, I am not suicidal. If I die in the next week, it's murder. And when these files release, you'll know why. You send copies to journalists, WikiLeaks, and congressional investigators. You wait. Day 1 passes. Nothing. Day 2, you get a knock on your door. It's Mr. Kensington, but he's not alone. He's with someone you recognize from the news. A high-ranking CIA official. They sit in your living room and explain the situation very calmly. Your dead man's switch is a problem. The files you've compiled would destabilize governments, collapse markets, and potentially start wars. They can't let that happen. But they're not here to kill you. They're here to offer you a job. The official explains that you've proven yourself to be the best in the world at what you do. Instead of working for criminals, why not work for your country? The pay is worse, but the retirement plan is much better. You won't go to prison. You won't die. You'll be a ghost employee of the United States government, laundering money for operations so classified they don't have names. You ask what happens if you refuse. The CIA official smiles. Nothing happens to you. But the files you compiled? We already hacked your dead man's switch 3 days ago. It's been disabled. The data is corrupted beyond recovery. You have no leverage, no insurance policy. You're just a smart kid who got in over his head and now has 2 choices. Work for us, or spend the rest of your life in a supermax prison in Colorado, where you'll never see sunlight again. You take the job. Because of course you do. You've already sold your soul. Might as well get dental benefits with it. They set you up in a secure facility in Virginia. Your neighbors think you're a boring federal accountant. In reality, you're laundering money for drone strikes, paying off warlords, funding rebel groups, and financing regime changes. The work is exactly the same. The only difference is the flag on your paycheck. 5 years pass. You're 40 now. You live alone in a suburban house that looks like every other house on the block. You have no friends, no relationships, no life outside of work. Every day, you wake up, move blood money for your government, and go to sleep. You've laundered over $500 billion in your career. You've enabled wars, famines, and atrocities on every continent. One night, you're watching the news. There's a story about a humanitarian crisis in a country you've never heard of. Thousands of refugees fleeing violence, children starving. You recognize the patterns. You moved the money that funded the militia causing this crisis. It was a job from 2 years ago, codenamed Operation Restore Balance. You made $15 million cleaning the money that bought the guns now being used to murder civilians. You turn off the TV and pour yourself a drink. You think about that kid who taught himself to code in his bedroom, who just wanted to be smart and successful. You think about how that kid would feel if he could see what you've become. You drain the glass and pour another. The money in your accounts could feed every refugee in that crisis for a year, but it won't. It'll just sit there, clean and useless, while you pretend you're not a monster. You get a notification on your secure phone. New job. Move $600 million for allied forces in the Middle East. The usual route. The usual fee. You open your laptop and start building the transaction chains. Your fingers move automatically. Muscle memory from 1,000 previous jobs. You don't even think about it anymore. You're not a person making choices. You're just a machine that transforms dirty money into clean money. And that's when you realize the truth. You didn't launder the money. The money laundered you. It took everything that made you human, your morals, your empathy, your connections, and washed it all away until there was nothing left but efficiency. You're clean now, perfectly, utterly clean, and completely empty. You finished the job. $600 million successfully moved. $12 million added to your accounts. You close the laptop and stare at your reflection in the dark screen. The face looking back at you is a stranger. You wonder briefly if you could still walk away. If you could liquidate everything, disappear to some remote island, and try to remember what it felt like to be human. But you know you won't. Because the truth is, you don't want to. This is who you are now. The man who makes the dirty money clean. The man who keeps the global machine running. The man who sold his soul for 2% and convinced himself it was a bargain. You're not a victim. You're not even a villain. You're just a function in the system. And the system always wins. Your phone buzzes. Another job. You pick it up. That's a wrap for today. If you want more deep dives into the world's darkest corners, you know what to do. Smash that subscribe button and stay off the radar with me. See you in the next one.